Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I was so delighted to meet some of you at the door, and at least 2 people told me these words. You know, it was a Shabbat Shalom, but the underscore was, I'm over it. I'm over it. I do not want. So tonight is the mask optional, first night of mask optional at Temple Israel. And I have to say, panim el panim, we're finally meeting face to face. And it's like a joy. It's kind of a little mind-blowing, actually. And for those of you I haven't seen for a while because maybe you've been in Florida, or those of you who I haven't seen for a while because maybe you live in Jerusalem, for example, it is pure joy to be here with you tonight and to welcome Second Nurture, an incredible organization which I think is about to set Columbus on fire in very good ways. Very good ways. It'll be a warm glow as opposed to a tempestuous fire. We're so delighted to welcome Rabbi Susan Silverman, and with her, Courtney Keys tonight, who's the regional director of Second Nurture, and all kinds of fun guests in the house tonight. Thank you for being here, one and all. And tonight, I would also like to sort of make a little mini announcement that my very good friend, becoming like a real brother to me, is Chris Cloth, who, when the social justice team sort of went underground during COVID, Chris stepped up and said, yeah, we still got to do stuff. And I'm just very grateful to Chris. Will you come and light the candles for us tonight, Chris? Sitting next to Julie and the whole Harmon Mishpacha. Happy to see you all here, friends. And Chris, let's light the candles and imagine the light that hopefully the work we do together this year will bring.
Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom. We sing the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, my friend.
Friends, you should have in front of you a prayer book, a siddur, and we'll begin our Kabbalat Shabbat, our welcoming, with a deep breath. And we'll open our siddur to page 12 as we sing together, L'chu neranana. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. L'chu neranena l'Adonai. Naria litzur yishenu. Nekama fanav v'toda. Bizmirat naria lo. Page 13. Shiro l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiro l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiro l'Adonai, baruch shemo
turn to page 15 and we'll read together in English at the bottom of the page. A psalm. Sing to Adonai a new song, for God has worked wonders. God's right hand, God's holy arm, has won God victory. Adonai has manifested God's victory, has displayed God's triumph in the sight of the nations. God was mindful of God's steadfast love and faithfulness toward the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth beheld the victory of our God. Raise a shout to Adonai, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. And we'll do just that on page 16, Zamru l'Adonai.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, v'kol zira, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayam lo, tevel veyoshveva. Neharot himcha uchav yachad, harim yiranenu. Lifnei Adonai kiva, lishpat haaretz, yishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim b'meisharim. Yiram hayam lo, tevel veyoshveva. Neharot himcha uchav yachad, harim yiranenu. Yachad harim yiranenu.
Well, we are over it. We're over with the week. And at this moment, I hope that you can maybe turn your heart a little bit toward what it has needed. Maybe it's just Shabbat rest. Maybe it's just a little change of scenery because we were stuck in our houses for such a long time. Maybe it's just a little bit of show me some hope because, God, this week has shown me how heavy the world is. And then we just kind of throw off the shackles of the week and greet the bride. That's what we do because everybody loves a wedding, especially when it's not long distance. So you're welcome because this is not a long distance wedding, a destination wedding. But you have reached the right place. Tonight on page 20, we greet Shabbat with open arms, receiving all that we need to make this Shabbat the peace and light that we need.
Lecha dodi, likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamar v'zachar v'dibur echad yishmianu el am yuchad Adonai echad u'sha'echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'litila lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat. lecha dodi, lecha dodi, likrat kala, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
Verse 5.
Hit oreri, kiva orech, kumi uri, shir daberi kavod, Adonai alayich nilalecha dodi, lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
Please rise and we face the doors.
Bo'i v'shalom, ateret
Verse
bala,
9.
gam b'simcha, u'v'tzolatoch, emunei am segula, bo'i chala, lecha dodi, lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
Please have a seat. And we turn to page 26, a little pause before we enter into the evening service. We have the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
V'amad yivrach yirtei v'yamlik malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon ufchayei duchol beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yesh merabba mevorach le'olam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudusha. Brichu le'lam min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'yimeru. Amen.
We stand and turn to page 28. Baruch Hu, we call attention to this moment of worship.
Ya la la ya ya, ya la la ya ya, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya ya, ya la la ya ya, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la la ya ya, ya la la ya ya, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya.
Please be seated. I'm so happy that Rabbi Sam Klein is here tonight. Hello, Rabbi Sam. I was really ruminating on your Torah that you taught at the staff meeting this past week. And Rabbi Klein brought up the fact that we are right in the middle of the middlemost Torah portion of the entire Torah. And he asked us like the hardest question that he could ask, especially me, who is like, you know, lots of things spinning at all times, right? And he said, so if 6 months ago you checked in with your teshuvah, meaning your repentance, your turning, with changes that you needed to make, how are you doing? How's that teshuvah going? And I said, gazoinks. And then, composing myself, I said, wow, I really have not checked in with that time that has passed and evolved, and how much time do I have left of this year? How much time do I have left in my life? Only the Holy One knows, but it is a great grounding question to ask ourselves, where's the time gone? And indeed, the next reading that we'll read on page 30 attests to the fact that unless we're really awake, we're going to just have these years flying by. So I want to thank you again for that, Rabbi Klein. Let's read together at the bottom of page 30 this passage, thanking God for the bringing on of these days and all this time. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריף ערבים.
The next prayer on page 33 thanks God for Torah, this ability to continually learn. And so let's read at the top of the page. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ולכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
So we turn to page 39. We're going to read this next passage together in a moment as a prelude to Micha Mocha, but I also want to show you this awesome card that's going to greet you on the way out. And it's from Second Nurture, which we're going to hear about very shortly. And it makes the following assertion. Moses was the first open adoption. And it has a picture of Pharaoh's daughter lifting up Moses out of the Nile, out of the river, in his little basket. He's very adorable. And it says, whether you have an hour, a month, or a room in your home and heart, help a youth in foster care find their path out of Mitzrayim. Help them find their way out of Egypt. These narrow straits, you know, we're all born into very narrow, you know, we make a passage out of the birth canal, just as we came out of the birth canal of the waters of the Red Sea, and we were birthed into being a nation. And now we have this adoption opportunity, we have foster care opportunity through Second Nurture. This is an opportunity to give new life to children who may have been forgotten or neglected after they were born. Every kid deserves that opportunity. And as we approach Pesach, Passover,
3 weeks,
less
Rabbi,
than
3 weeks.
a month.
Shabbat para.
This is, you know, we have to imagine what it's like to be able to hold a child in the way they need. And it's such a precious opportunity. So with that, we go straight to the shores of the sea and imagine how we're going to, as a community, open our own arms and welcome in the stranger. At the top of page 39, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף למלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 42. And actually, we're using the English across the page, page 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let's try that again.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom, Ve'hamidenu, Shomrenu L'chaim, Ufros Aleinu, Sukat Shlomecha, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Leshalom.
Page 44.
Veshameru bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
I've been thinking a lot about the idea of mishpacha. Mishpacha, family. And I want to ask you, just starting off tonight, as we're going to be thinking a lot about what constitutes a family, what a family can look like, I want to ask you to answer the question, who's in your family? Who's in your family? I think I know how Nancy Lurie might answer. She's got a great family. And you would talk, Tom, and you would list Karen and Betsy and, right, their spouses and grandkids, Cantor. And then you might say, but Carol, my friend next to me, she's kind of mishpacha, right? You live near each other. You're like friends, but family. So there's like a real kesher. There's a real connection there. So who's in your family? Let me ask you this. Has anybody here ever had the experience of starting off with somebody and feeling like, well, we're acquaintances, and then like a year later, you're like, oh my God, my sister, oh, my brother, my whatever you are, right? But we're certainly not just friends. And I can't even remember, I think we met at Sinai. So like, weren't we all there at Sinai? Remember you and you and you, we were all there. So we're kind of mishpacha. We're family. I was thinking about mishpacha also deriving from the word shifcha, a handmaid. And we, in fact, have the picture of the maidens, the handmaids that maybe were drawing Moshe out of the river, taking care, guarding, right? So mishpacha and helper, right? Ultimately, God, you know, sometimes family cannot always feel like they're helping. But I have a family member here tonight, so I'm just not even going to go there. But, you know, ultimately that's what we want to be doing is helping. And I ask you this question tonight because I wonder if there's more room in your family. I mean, you could just have a cutoff and say, that's it, this is my family, this is the Constitution, and zo, no more. But you know what? Then you meet somebody great and you say, how can I stay linked to you? I have to tell you that during COVID, one of the worst possible thoughts in my head, aside from who's getting sick and who's dying, and please God, keep everybody safe, was a thought of a kid whose parents weren't able to watch after them. Because of the circumstances, schools were closed, and maybe they had Wi-Fi in their house, maybe they didn't. Maybe they had parental supervision, maybe they didn't. Who was their mishpacha? I worried. And I know that my worries may have been a little bit exaggerated because I was worried about everybody and everything, as you were. But I also thought, this is not so far from me. This is actually really sitting very close to me, right? Not because it's happening to me, but again, if our family, if our mishpacha is really large, if you start thinking, I told people in Ukraine this week, because we have a connection, there's like a great listserv. You can talk to all the JCC, Jewish Community Center professionals, and you can write a note to a Jewish community professional in the Ukraine. And so we did, as some of us on staff did this. And I said to them, you are our family. I mean, I feel like they're my mishpacha. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a Jewish mishpacha either. It just has to be somebody that I feel like, yeah, beating heart. That's what's going on here too. And so the difference is lo mishaneh so much. It doesn't matter so much because there's a beating heart there. And I want to introduce you to somebody who is really my mishpacha. We always joke about this, Susan and I, that we grow up together? Like, was it preschool or even before that? Or like our mothers were sharing the same, room and we both came out at the same time? My dear friend, Rabbi Susan Silverman, is here from Jerusalem, and she's going to tell us about Second Nurture. And I have to tell you, I met Susan vis-a-vis, I think it was really vis-a-vis Second Nurture first, even before we developed these, became each other's family in a sense. And it makes total sense as I've been thinking about what she's doing here, that she would be the one to start this organization. So now I'm going to introduce her and just say thank you for being, an inspiring family member that I never, ever like saying goodbye to.
So, Barami, everybody has said to me, Barami, she sings like an angel. And you do. But just as much as your voice is like an angel, just as like an angel, a malach, a messenger, helps us to bring God into ourselves and bring our heart toward God. That's what you do when you sing. And I just found myself sitting there just beyond grateful. Thank you. And Sharon, I was, realizing that and watching as you would sing kind of in response to Bat Ami or, in sort of support of her, and I thought, wow, that is so Sharon. Like, you are this beautiful presence and you are also this almost like just quiet presence that just brings out the strength and shines a light on everybody, and just love you. Thank you so much all for inviting me to be here, for inviting Second Nurture to be part of your community. I look forward to really getting to know you over time. Courtney, who is the regional director in Columbus and who is beyond also, I hope you will really get to know Courtney, so my rock. And I just want to share a few words of Torah and talk a little bit about Second Nurture. So, as you've pointed out so cruelly, Pesach is just around the corner. And this is this whole season of holidays, Purim, Passover, Shavuot, and they tell stories of unlikely heroes. Esther, Moses, and Ruth, who transformed realities that really kind of seemed impossible to overcome. And it's impressive, but we, got to be honest here that at least in the cases of Esther and Moses, they didn't exactly jump into action. Esther had become queen of Persia, very much not a lateral move. That surprised everyone, probably especially her. And once she was queen, she was faced with this Russian invasion of Ukraine. Oh, wait. Oh, no, sorry. With a vicious edict to destroy a whole population. In this case, the Jews, by her husband, King Ahasuerus. Mordecai beseeched Esther to approach the king to do something. Esther, a teenager, responded, "Ma tadafuk," what are you, an idiot? Which is not the exact biblical quote, but it was sort of like the general idea from this teenager. I can't approach the king unbidden, like he'll have my head. And Moses, one day Moses is shepherding the flock on a typical Midianite afternoon, and he sees a bush aflame, but not consumed by the fire. And then God speaks from the flames. "I am the God of your ancestors. I have seen the plight of my people and shall send you to Pharaoh to free them." To which Moses replies, "What? No. I will be with you," God says. "Who are you?" Moses asks. "Ehyeh asher ehyeh," God practically sings. "I will be what I will be." Moses stares at the flames. I can't even pronounce that. Redemption, as we know, is not only a biblical need. We live in a world of problems that are just too big. We feel like the spies who scouted the land of Israel. They came back to the people early in their post-slavery desert wanderings and said, "We saw Nephilim, Anakites of the Nephilim. We saw threatening giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes. And we were like grasshoppers in their eyes as well." A challenge the size of Nephilim, of threatening giants, looms in our own backyard in the Franklin County foster care system. And looking up at that monstrosity, we're like grasshoppers in our own eyes. And the kids in foster care, they too are belittled by that system. They too are like grasshoppers in their own eyes. The task is just too big. The world, like those of Esther and Moses, is just so much bigger than the kids, so much bigger than us. And it can crush spirits, imaginations, and even the idea of change. Taking on the system, raising one child from that system, or growing up in that system to exit the Pardes hole is seemingly unattainable. What happened that Moses and Esther, they kind of rose up to face the task at hand? We see that when Moses asked God's name, he referred to the Israelites as them. Moses said to God, "When I come to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' not his people, not his God, even after God said explicitly, 'I will be with you.'" Then God told Moses that his brother Aaron would be at his side, at which point Moses went back to his father-in-law, Yitro, and said, "Let me go back to my kinsfolk in Egypt and see how they are faring." Family, community, and God gave Moses, to borrow a phrase from Aviva Zornberg, a place to stand. and with a place to stand, he had agency to transform himself and the world. In God's image, Moses would be what he would be and bring that transformative potential to his people. So too did Esther need to be given the strength to do what was needed. Mordecai beseeched Esther to approach the king and persuade him to avert the decree against the Jews, that her fate is tied to that of her people. Then he adds, Umi yodea, im la'et kazot higat l'malchut. Who knows? Perhaps it is for this reason that you have attained malchut. On the surface, we read malchut as human royalty. But perhaps this is malchut de kedusha, a realm of holiness. Perhaps it is not a place in a palace, but a place in the world. Mordecai could be speaking to us all, to claim our place in holy community and be brave. Esther commanded the Jews to fast for 3 days on her behalf, and then she dressed herself in malchut, which again on the surface could just mean royal clothing. But this is also read rabbinically as dressing herself in Shekhinah, God's presence. She had a place to stand among family, community, and God, and knowing that made the difference. Dressed in malchut, Esther stood on behalf of her people, b'chatzer beit hamelech hapnimit, in the king's inner court. Esther and Moses are like the adults looking at the foster system from the outside, and are also like the kids trapped by it. They are all of us. Ruth also is like all of us. She's like those of us with personal agency, as well as kids confined to a system. But Ruth was different from Esther and Moses. Even from her contained life in Moab, she envisioned her place in the unfolding of a faraway nation in a relationship with an infinite, invisible God. She could see it. She would get there and bring forth a messianic future at one with God. All of us here, and kids who find themselves in the Moab of a foster care system, have the capacity to see beyond the circumstances of our lives and of the world around us. We can imagine ourselves in a world where we belong, where we each have a place to stand, becoming our highest selves, bringing redemption closer. We hold within us the fear and resistance of Esther and Moses and the prophetic vision and determination of Ruth. And like them all, Esther, Moses, and Ruth, who themselves were fostered or adopted, 3 of them, we are called to imagine ourselves in a world of possibility, no matter where we currently find ourselves. Kids in the Franklin County foster system are resistant and afraid, and they imagine themselves in a world in which they find their place to stand in order to become their highest selves, make their impact on a big world. And that means a place to belong, held by a loving family that is, in turn, held by a loving community in relationship with God. All of us in this holy community, Temple Israel, have a place to stand and can imagine a world where we are those loving families. We're not too small. In a midrash, when the spies of the desert generation reported that they saw themselves as grasshoppers in the presence of the Anakim, the threatening giants, and that also they looked like grasshoppers to the Anakim, God scolded them. God said, okay, so you feel like grasshoppers. That's your subjective experience. That's your prerogative. But I will not permit you to claim that to them you looked like grasshoppers. Perhaps you looked like angels in their eyes. Let's see ourselves and every child under the auspices of Franklin County as angels, messengers of a better world. So through the Second Nurture partnership with Temple Israel, we will create a cohort of members who have faced this systemic anak and are fostering or have fostered or might foster or will foster or lovingly support the families who do foster. And this cohort will meet monthly as a group with a Second Nurture family support specialist. The cohort families will help each other. The specialist seeks out external resources that may be needed, and the wider Temple Israel community will step up to provide support. We are doing this in LA County. We have 3 partner synagogues. We have between 50 and 60 kids home with families and active supportive cohorts and supportive wider communities. And it's really a beautiful sense of belonging that everybody has. And I look here at Temple Israel and all the things that you already do, and the fact that you want to stretch even more so that kids will have families and stretch in your innermost places is just deeply, deeply moving to me. So please look for announcements about upcoming introductory sessions, and everyone is more than welcome to come and learn. And who better than this community, than Temple Israel? It's grounded in chesed to foster children and nurture their families. Who better than Temple Israel, grounded in tzedek, to divert children from the paths of social injustice that await those who age out of the foster care system, incarceration, homelessness, poverty, and trafficking. Just as kids are held and reflected in our families are held and reflected by the Second Nurture cohort, and in turn the cohorts held and reflected by this beautiful kehillah. We hope you can imagine yourself as a foster parent or stepping forward to support your friends in the kehillah who do foster. Because imagining ourselves holding a foster child or a foster teenager means we have to be able to imagine ourselves being held. There's another adopted figure in the Passover story, Serach. Serach was adopted as a child by Joseph's brother Asher. She was an Elijah-like figure whose life spanned generations and is recorded as coming down to Egypt with her grandfather Jacob and as leaving Egypt in the Exodus. When the people, as Moses predicted, doubted that Moses was sent by God, Sarah confirmed his authenticity because she knew the secret code spoken by Moses. It had been transmitted from Jacob to Asher. It had been transmitted from Jacob to Joseph. Joseph shared it with his brother Asher, and Asher entrusted it to his daughter, who he had adopted, his daughter Sarah. So Moses, adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, was the messenger of divine revelation. Sarah, adopted by Asher, was the bearer of oral tradition. We need both for redemption. Hundreds of years after the exodus from Egypt, Sarah, still living, recounted the miracle at Yam Suf, at the Sea of Reeds, at the Red Sea. She said that the giant, Anak-like walls of the parted sea resembled shining mirrors in which every person was reflected, so that it seemed like an even greater multitude crossed there. And not only those in the moment, but also those of the past and the future. Redemption's not limited to its time and place, but it fills the expanse. The redemptive potential of this community is as great as the parted sea, because God endlessly reflects our love for each other to the left and to the right as we move with faith toward the yet unknown Sinai. Shabbat Shalom.
Yishar kochech, straight to you, my friend, with power. And thank you for reminding us that as big as our families are, we aim to create even more mishpacha. And you may have come here tonight saying, well, I didn't know I was going to be fostering a child. And it may seem like a very tall proposition. You may say, did we sign on to this at a board meeting that I was not at? Possibly. But we also want you to think of just what it would look like. Even to have a friend in this congregation, I want to tell you, you are sitting amongst angels. We have people in our midst tonight, friends, who have taken that step to bring people into their homes, into their hearts, connected in the ways that we are. You are angels. I'm telling you, we have people who have made that room, and you're sitting amongst them tonight. It is very, very special that we're creating this opportunity. Is it a social justice, social action opportunity? It is. Will we be doing a lot of things to promote this possibility amongst ourselves? Yes, and not only that, we'll be working with Tifereth Israel down the street and with First Congregational Church and Broad Street Presbyterian to create something that we're calling the Broad Street Interfaith Alliance. Yes, Interfaith Alliance. So it's so new that I'm just excited to tell you first about this, but you're gonna expect a lot of really goodwill between our congregations and certainly a lot of need that we're gonna try to fulfill in these children's lives. So I just wanna thank you in advance and wish you a Shabbat Shalom. As we now turn to the middle of the service or toward the end of the service for the Amidah, and we ask you to please rise page
48.
48.
I'm sorry, 46. We begin together. We'll say the first three blessings aloud, then we'll have time for some private contemplation using the traditional words of the prayer book. Of course, God understands the words of your heart as well. So we'll begin together, page 46. And then it continues until page 62. And then please feel free to be seated when you've concluded with your own personal prayer. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמנת לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Page 52.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים כל יום בחללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continuing through pages 62, 63, and please be seated whenever you're done.
la la, ya la 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 la. Ya 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 la 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 la. Ya la ya la.
At the conclusion of our personal prayers, we add a collective prayer for healing. All of those who need a refu'at ha-nefesh and a refu'at ha-guf for full healing of body and of soul. We turn now to page 253. As I'll chant our Misha Berach prayer for healing, and then I'll give an opportunity for you to say the names aloud for who you are praying for.
Misha Berach Avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Hu Yivarech et hacholim. Lev Hashel ben Batami ve'Yaakov Nechabat Sarah Rivka Aaron David ben Pia Leah Harav Tuvia Levi ben Yosef Tzvi HaKohen Ubatya Yaakov Yitzchak ben David Verachav Eliyahu ben Sarah Harav Ruvain Shlomo ben Mendel ve'Leah Naomi bat Miriam Harav Yosef Gidel bat Yehuda ve'Chaya Sissel Chana bat Yida Rivka Levia bat Rachel Gavriela bat Nehemiah Udevora Chana Ruth bat Anna Avraham Anshel Levi ben Miriam Eliana Shai bat Benjamin v'Shir Leah Saner ben Sarah Miriam bat Simcha v'Shifra Sarah Masha bat Ganesha v'Moshe Reuven Avraham ben Mordechai v'Ada Jerry Bain, Corey Casperson, Becky Caudle, Pat Caudle, Barton Cohen, Pamela Cohen, Bree Craig, David Dockner, George Dickerson, Larry Footer, Karen Gillen, Warren Grove, Annette Harris, Ethan Kaddish, Ray Carlsberger, Robert Keynes Jr., Delma Killinger, Marilyn Lassen, Bill Lazaro, Cheryl Logan, Gerald McBrearty, Chris McGowan, Hassan Noach, Anthony Paneth, Clark Patton, David Schulman, Michael Thrush, Annette Turner, Mary Lou Wagner,
Paula Weinstein.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu Imalei Rachamim Alehem Lahachalimam Urapotam Ulhachatzikam Vayishlach Lehem Mehirav Rufu'ah Shlema Min HaShamayim Rufu'at HaNefesh V'Rufu'at HaGuf Hashabagalau Vizman Kariv Venomar Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all of those who are named and who are in our hearts and our minds. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be fully restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us all say, Amen.
We're also, of course, thinking this week of all of those souls who are suffering in Ukraine and the surrounding areas who are so affected by this war. Our thoughts are with them, and of course, we are praying that this war speedily comes to an end. Everyone, we're coming to the end of our service now, so please turn to page 282 and please stand.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים,
HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We now turn to consider those people in our lives who have left this earth, and so we remember them through Kaddish Yatom, Warner's Kaddish, page 294. I do want to recognize the recent passing of Madeleine Albright this week, who discovered that she was Jewish later on in life, and I do appreciate the fact that she was so vocal about it, and a proud Jew after all, and of course did many, many things to affect the course of our country. So with her family, we are remembering her, and with the country. If you are joining us during the period of Shiva, I'd like to ask you to please rise and say the name of your person if you have lost somebody within the last 7 days. If you're joining us during the Shloshim, the 30 days after having lost someone, if you would please stand so we can recognize your loss. We are remembering in our congregation Florence Posner, and also the father of Nancy Schick. If you're joining us during the 11 months or year after having lost somebody, if you would please stand and say the name aloud of somebody that you are saying Kaddish for. Thank you, Jan. And you'll stay standing, my friend, as we turn to our Kaddish list, those yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the following loved ones' deaths, and if you hear your loved one's name read, you can stand up as their name is read. We are remembering Norman Aronow, Philip Berman, Chalmers Coe, Lena S. Cohen, Irene Darrow, Fanny Sarah David, Barney Davis, Eleanor Espin, Nancy Everett, Louis A. Golden, Albert C. Greenberg. We're remembering Esther Greenfield, Suzanne Harmon, Florence Kaplan, Herman L. Kaplan, Miriam Kane, Charlotte Rose Klein, Dora Cohane, Fred Lazarus Sr., Peggy Lederer, Lottie Leckish, Harry Levin, Ann Levy, Adam Stewart Linhart, Joseph Samuel Meyer, Sigmund Ornstein, Rebecca Pincus, Richard H. Pincus, Rhea Polsky, Sidney Reitel, David Roby, Elizabeth B. Schaefer, Henrietta Schiff, Mildred Schuster, Sidney Schwager, Iris Shipkovitz, David Shkolnick, Brian Smiley, Julius Snyder, Benjamin Tizer, Virginia R. Wolf, Ruth Zelizer, Rhoda Zimet, and Ben A. Zuckerman. Are there any additional names? So we stand with all of you, friends, as you remember those so dear to you. We honor them now with the words of Kaddish Yatom, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'olma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olam me'ol maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shmei Dekudsha Brechu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'olma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, Amen. Please be seated, everyone. May the source on high bring peace to all who mourn and soothing to all those who need comforting. We say amen. We are going to make Kiddush in a moment, friends. But first, we want to tell you about a few things coming up. You can read it all about it on our website. So if you forget it, don't worry about it. We have a very busy Shabbat coming up. Tomorrow morning, we are having Shabbat morning services right here to honor Joan Fulp. You may know her as your preschool teacher because like the entire world had her as their preschool teacher here at Temple Israel. She is one of the coolest people over the age of 90 to drive like a convertible, and she has an extremely good taste.
I actually don't know how many years she's been a member here. That was like the biggest question.
Oh, that's
how
a big
many,
question.
Yeah, so, but a long time.
Long time. That's the answer. We also, so that's at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Feel free to come. We would love to have you. And we'll also simultaneously online be having Jewish meditation. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're having a second Nurture information session. If it went a little too fast tonight, then we will make sure that you get a refresher tomorrow morning. Am I supposed to be reading those? Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not know. We did not rehearse this. Can you tell? Anyway, tomorrow morning, meditation Musar is the next day. I'm just going to like pretend that there are no slides there. You should too, probably. So tomorrow afternoon, though, 4 o'clock right here, we'll be having some one-on-one time with both Rabbi Susan Silverman and with Courtney Keys, and to entertain any of your questions that you have. And I would love to send you home with the homework assignment to have a friend come tomorrow afternoon, especially if they missed tonight, to learn about this. This might be just the thing that they're looking for to do in their life or to just find out about. There is no obligation, just to come. And then we want you to also be paying attention to all of the awesome volunteer opportunities. We need you to usher. We need you to bake challah. We need you to bring a member to temple. We have a Shabbat chauffeur service. Isn't that cute? And then Hilltop Community Center and donating blood. There are so many opportunities. We actually really need you. We have a whole volunteer section, so please pay attention to that, as well as our opportunity to do some good for the world in multiple ways on Tikkun Palooza, which is coming up on April 24th. We need site leaders and volunteers. And finally, I want to call attention to an awesome class that's going to be offered by Rabbi Klein and our congregant David Froelich, called Who is the Prime Minister of Israel? And it is easier than just saying Naftali Bennett, I'm told. Yes? Oh, it's just like, it's that easy. Yeah. Okay, there's a lot to say about who the Prime Minister of Israel is. So you're going to have the opportunity to learn about that also. I hope that you really will take advantage of all these great things. We're coming back together slowly, but we're going to be drinking l'chaims together really, really soon. And speaking of l'chaim, maybe even now.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava ratzon hinchilanu zikaron v'maaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu vacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. Just also want to say a big toda rabah. Thank you to my friend Cantor Jenna Greenberg, who Always is such a pleasure and joy to uplift our
Yay.
music. And thank you to Jenna, Cher, and Ruth Silverman,
Also, yay.
and all of our amazing staff. We couldn't do any of this without all of you. And thank you all so much for coming. And to Rabbi Silverman and Courtney, thank you for bringing this holy work. I would have like 12 kids by now. But beautiful. Thank you.
So let's make motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. They're so cute. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, say shalom, b'romav. Oh, say shalom, b'romav. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu. May the one who brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace
Bring peace down, bring peace down.
Oh, say shalom.